Hello, everybody. This is episode 4 of Breaking Down Character Development in My Hero Academia. I have decided to do this guy. Now, before I say any more, I'm throwing my disclaimer out right now. If you have not watched My Hero Academia all the way through, or read the manga all the way through, either or, I am going to let you know now, there are going to be major spoilers. Be warned before continuing. And with that warning, we're going to move on and talk about this guy. This is Dabi. Or, as we find out later in the series, this is Toya Todoroki. That's right, everybody. This is Shoto's oldest brother, Toya, who for quite a while you think is dead. He is not dead, and we're going to break it down and find out why. Here we go. So, Toya was the eldest son of Endeavor and Ray. He was born with fiery red hair, blue eyes, similar to his father. He had also his father's quirk. He had a fire quirk, and he was told by Endeavor that his flames actually burned hotter than his own. So Endeavor was happy about this, and Toya thought that was amazing, and he could fulfill his father's dream of a Todoroki being at number 1 in the hero board. But they found out as Endeavor was training him that he started to get burns on his arms and hands, where at that time that was the only kind of spot Toya could have his flames. He couldn't do full body flame or anything like Endeavor yet. He was just a little kid. So they took him to the doctor. And the doctor revealed that yes, he had a powerful fire quirk. His body was more like his mother's, Ray, who had an ice quirk. So all that said, it actually turned out that Toya's body could not withstand the heat of his flames, and he ended up getting burned every time he used his fire quirk. Now, as time goes on, you will also see that Toya's hair changes colors. Like I said before, he was born with fiery red hair. His hair will slowly start to turn white, like his brother and sister. And this also kind of infuriates him along with Endeavor, because he now kind of knows, like, I'm not a fire user, I guess. Like, my body is rejecting it, blah, blah, blah. And Endeavor pushes him aside. And then, like I said before, they have 2 middle children who also have ice quirks, and then there is Shoto, who was the perfect specimen. The existence of Shoto really annoyed Toya, because he realized he was replaced. Endeavor got what he wanted, the perfect child with the perfect quirk. But this did not stop Toya from trying to impress his father. So he would go to the mountains and he would practice daily using his quirk. And this caused him a lot of pain, because he burned himself every time he used his quirk. But he was determined to have his father notice him and to acknowledge his progress and be proud of him. That's all he wanted, was for his father to say he was proud of him. Now, Endeavor finds out what he's doing, because Toya will come up to him and say, come to the mountains this time, this day, and watch me practice. Endeavor gets very angry, tells Toya to stop, and this really annoys Toya to the point where he actually goes to attack Shoto because he blames Shoto for everything that's happened. So he goes at Shoto with an attack. Rei knocks him down with her ice. Now, Toya does go to the mountains on the day he said, and he waited for quite a while for Endeavor, and his father never showed. This really hit Toya really hard because all he wanted was for his father to watch him practice and tell him he was doing good, which he never got. So Toya started crying. Now, he started crying so hard that his tears turned to flames. And then eventually his entire body was engulfed in flames. And he ended up burning about 80 to 90% of his body. And by the time rescuers came and Endeavor came, they thought his body had completely burned up. They couldn't find his body anywhere. And then it turns out that All for One found Dabi or Toya burned beside a lake and took him to a medical facility of his design and made Toya look the way he does. The brownish red kind of skin he has is apparently some sort of synthetic or something skin. They explain it, but I can't really remember. But there's no way to hide it, so he just has to walk around like that. And then he wakes up from a coma, and the people at the facility tell him that he had been asleep for, I believe they said 3 years, which he did not believe them until he looked at himself in the mirror. He was no longer the boy he was when he went to the mountains. He was more of a teenager, probably around the same time Shoto is when he gets into UA, so probably around 15, 16. And they tell him all these things, that everybody thinks he's dead and that there's no going back to his regular life. He does not believe them, so he leaves and goes home, where he's like, after everything that happened to me, they must have changed their ways and got better. The family has to be better. But when he got home, nothing had changed. His father was still abusing everybody. He was beating on Shoto, making him become the perfect hero, basically. So Toya went on to say a prayer to his shrine, and he left. He went back to the facility. He asked some questions. They kind of got confrontational, and Toya ends up burning the entire facility down along with everybody inside it. So we're gonna move on here in part 2, and there's still a lot to unravel. This might even be a part 3 like my last one, but we're gonna continue breaking down. It actually gets a whole lot more depressing, so I will see you in part 2. Bye. Hello, and welcome to part 2 of character development of Dabi, or Toya Todoroki. We finished off part 1 at the medical facility he woke up in. and he ended up burning it down, including everybody inside the facility. Now, after that, he was determined to get his quirk back to the way it was, because when he woke up, his quirk was barely non-existent due to the damage he inflicted when he was burning. So he worked extremely hard and was fueled by hatred and wanting revenge on his family. So he worked very hard day and night to get his quirk back to the way it was, and he does. He actually ends up making it stronger. So in part 1, I said that Endeavor noticed when he was young that his flames burned hotter than his own. Dabi at this point actually makes his flames burn hotter than they did before. So his flames turn from orange to blue, which just indicates the heat of the flames. And because of his injuries, he actually does not have any pain receptors left. So no matter how hard he uses his quirk, he may get burned, but he doesn't feel it. So he works harder and harder because there's no pain involved. And then he joins the League of Villains soon after that, and they just know him as Dabi. He's like, just call me Dabi. You don't need to know who I really am. And it goes on like that for quite a while. He is part of the group who kidnaps Bakugo at the training camp. He sets fire to majority of the forest that they are in, and has another villain twice make a copy of him, and he fights Aizawa for a few minutes. And then the League just kind of goes on and does their own thing for a while, and Dabi in tow. And then it gets to kind of nearing the end, and he tells everybody who he is. Now, kind of at the ending of My Hero there, at the first part of the war, Dabi jumps on the back of Gigamachia, again sets fire to a forest that Class 1A and Class 1B are in, trying to slow down Gigamachia. He burns that kind of down to try and prevent them from doing anything, which doesn't work. But then, riding on the back of Gigamachia, he has that one guy who's good with computers. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he has him broadcast a video while they're on his back. Now, as he is doing that, him and the other villains kind of are talking to another one, Toga, who I will do one later on her, because she's upset of the death of a friend. And he just kind of tells her, like, death is inevitable, it's gonna happen to everybody, basically, is what he's saying. He doesn't use those words, but that's basically what he says. And they're blasting through city after city on the back of Gigamachia. Now they get to where the battle is between everybody and Shigaraki. And then that's when he reveals who he is, because he sees Endeavor and Shoto there. And at the same time, they are broadcasting a video that Toya had them broadcast. And it goes on to say that his real name is Toya Todoroki, and that he is a villain, he's Endeavor's son, and he is responsible for the death of 80 people. which then also puts a bad name on the whole Todoroki name. And he goes on to pour water on his head because for the longest time you will see him with this black hair. He gets rid of the black dye, revealing Toya's white hair that he had when everything happened to him. So this throws everybody for a loop, and Toya basically has gone insane, let's be honest. He jumps and attacks Shoto, basically jumps and gives him a hug with his flames completely engulfing him, and then they engulf Shoto. Luckily, Shoto is able to withstand it, but he definitely had every intentions of burning Shoto. But then they all get kind of captured by Best Jeanist, and the attacks end there for part 1 of the war. There are parts where you can kind of see the softer side of Toya, like when Toga goes back to her childhood home and she's depressed, and he will say his line, "You can either spend today laughing or crying, but tomorrow will happen just the same." And he does try to comfort Toga in that time of sadness for her, basically, and then proceeds to light her childhood home on fire. And then moving on to the final war, Toya gets paired with Shoto for the final battle. He wanted to fight Endeavor, but he ended up with Shoto because Shoto had the ice quirk and was more able to take Toya on. Toya had every intention on dying. He had nothing to live for. So he gave it his all, and he did fight Shoto. Shoto does bring him down first, but then he gets up and he gets transferred to where Endeavor is. And then there's a big fight. He tries to self-destruct and explode everything around him, including his family. Shoto comes, shuts him down. He falls to the ground. Endeavor does apologize for everything, and Toya will tell them that he still hates them. But he will start to cry. He winds up in jail, but on life support. Basically, his body was too badly destroyed in the final battle. But every day, Endeavor would come talk to him. Shoto would come talk to him along with Ray, and I believe his sister did as well. Unfortunately, his wounds were too great and he could never recover from his injuries. So he does end up passing away a little while after the war has ended. And they all grieve him and all have shrines for him in their houses. It is a very tragic story of a little boy just wanting recognition and basically for his father to be proud of him, which at the end he does get told that he was proud of him and that he did a good job. So, don't know who I'm doing next, but stay tuned. Hopefully it won't be as tragic as this one, but a lot of them are tragic.